All right, we are live. Hi, Sean. How are you?
Great. How are you doing, Tiff?
I'm doing so good. I feel like we've talked about this in a previous stream or video, but the sun is out today and it instantly makes me just such a happier person.
100%. These winter months when it's gray. I mean, I don't know about Toronto, but Cincinnati, we'll get some sun here or there, but
Mhm.
we can go a couple weeks without it. And so yeah, it's same thing. Really nice here. It's been raining for 2 or 3 days, so it's good to see the sun.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to dive into some VS Code extensions. I made the title of this video. It was called, I think I called it the top VS Code extensions. And I put a disclaimer in the description because it's very, it's biased based on what you're building, what project you need them for, but some ones that we both really love.
For sure. And I think so. I don't know how I'm excited to get into yours and maybe before we start, I would like your perspective on this too. Because when you said come up with some of your favorites,
Mhm.
it was kind of open ended. So I thought I kind of used a little bit of a combination of criteria in coming up with mine. And for the most part, we'll see how many we get through. But for the most part, I tried to pick ones that were not exclusive to any language, but there might be an exception to that, but something that it just feels like it's useful kind of across the board, regardless of what language you're writing. And that they were, I also tried to pick ones. I have a couple that are, I think, really common, but a few others that I thought maybe folks haven't heard about and that they could be really beneficial. So, kind of like not all deep tracks, so to speak, but trying to help folks out in that regard. But give us a little bit of context for your list.
You know what? It wasn't even intentional, but so I have three really ready to go. And then if we have more time, I'll continue to dive into them. But it wasn't even intentional. But I feel like when I was kind of taking a scan through your list quickly and then through mine, the three that the really ones I really want to share, a lot of mine are, I don't know if visual is the right word, but it's more aesthetic, I think is the right word. Like,
Okay.
making your VS Code really fun and interesting, also very useful, which we'll dive into for certain scenarios. But I felt like I noticed on my list, I'm really gravitating towards making my ID really look nice, I guess. So
Okay. Yeah. Great.
I'll start presenting. I'll dive into it here. Give me a sec.
What could also be interesting is maybe before you start with the extensions, maybe tell us the theme that you're using. Since you're talking aesthetically, we could start there, and because that's like very subjective, and there's thousands of themes to pick from. But yeah, I mean, you're talking aesthetics. It's like a nice, really personal touch.
You know what? It is, but however, the theme I'm using is just the default, so it's not even it's a
Okay. Okay.
decline for that. But you know what? The project actually that let me pull it up here. The project I'm using to show these plugins, I just want to shout out an amazing developer who built it, aka you.
Oh, all
it's
right.
it's the docs project that you built a while back, which I'll link down below because it's a great project to tinker around with. The docs project that I used with Learn with Jason.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Next.js and Markdown files, is that what you're
Correct.
using?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Cool. And I'm gonna pull up my personal website, which is kind of a mono repo, but there's a bunch of different types of files in there. So I thought that would be kind of a decent example, but we'll see how it works.
Nice. All right. Here, give me a sec. I know you can see too many of us. Now you can see my VS Code.
Yes, great.
Perfect. Sorry, Sean. I have a little tickle in my throat today. So the first one I wanted to talk about is called Better Comments, and this is an extension. I have them up here that I actually recently discovered. Well, about not too long ago, anyways. It hasn't been something I've been using for years, but I would say for about the last few months now, and it's really great, especially when you are building with. It can be in a team setting, but I find I end up using it if I'm building for a personal project that I actually want to complete because you start a lot of personal projects and they kind of fall to the side. But this is really good
Mhm.
because what it does is scroll down here. It allows you to really be specific with your comments. And as a visual person, a visual learner, I find too often that I like to leave comments for myself throughout my code, or even if I'm building on a team, comments. I mean, that would be a little bit more, look a little bit different, but I always leave comments. And I found that what was happening prior to using this is they were getting lost. I would leave comments and I was getting so used to seeing that kind of green, from the default theme, that I wasn't really taking them in. So I'll share with you here. I have some examples. So they have three main different styles that you can use. The first is you can use, if you type in, as you can see above too, but say we type in to do, it will make this nice orange color and it will allow you to write any kind of to dos you want. So say in this case, to do, I have update the styling there, add in the description, in the button maybe. So that's the first one, which is to do. And then the second one is more so of a warning or something that is really you need right away. So it's a red color here. So for example, I have API is soon being updated. This could also be API is being appreciated. Different things like that that are really important that you really want to stand out. And then the other is more of a simple green here, which I usually use for more important things that are not urgent. So you can see here, important to note, icon needs to be updated. So this is an extension that I have in, I'd say most of my projects now. It's just a simple extension, but it really makes a big difference when you are leaving a lot of comments or working on a project, maybe with a smaller group of people. I find it to be really good, or on your own, building your own project. So have you used this before?
No, no, I haven't seen this one before, and a couple things came to mind here. One is that it's nice that it looks like it's maintaining, or maybe adding styles for the JS docs types of comments. So with the params and returns down there. The second thing was I was curious if it looks like the colors are
Mhm.
not included in your theme. So I was curious, like if you change to say the light theme, do the colors change or are they kind of like they don't change?
You can no, you can customize as much as you want. So this is out of the box what they come with, for example. But if you scroll down here, I didn't configure them to do this on this project, but you can see down here, it's really good documentation. And actually, it has quite a big, well, I mean, 4.5 million. It has quite a big community. So there's a lot of resources or short kind of form videos out there on it, but it's super simple regardless. So you can see here, you can customize if you want it to be. Sorry, I'm just trying to make this bigger here. But the default 5 can be modified to change the colors and more can be added. So if I scroll, can I zoom in here? It's not letting me. But you can see here, so you can change the color, the tag, a question mark, different prompts that you want to add, and also to change the colors. You can even add a background color, which is really interesting. So you can, right now, this is kind of just what it comes with, but you can get very specific with it if you're someone who really wants to take it to the next level with customization.
Very cool. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And
Definitely
it's
checking this one out.
a ton of languages are supported too. So that's my first one, better comments. And then I'm going to save my favorite for last. My second one I want to talk about is called Peacock. Have you used this before?
No, no, I also haven't heard of this one, and it looks super popular as well.
Yes, this is really cool. It's just a great visual to separate. If I showed you my desktop right now, Sean, you might be horrified. I One of my weak spots in life is I'm not the most organized when it comes to my desktop or files or folders or anything like that. It's a little chaotic. And what this will help me do is oftentimes, especially when building smaller projects, or as I like to call it, tinkering around a bit. So just kind of seeing how things work. I've been doing a lot of like small tinkering things with Python recently. And also, of course, playing around with ChatGPT and seeing what it can produce and then throwing that in VS Code as well. Point being, how this relates to Peacock is I have a lot of times a lot of different projects open at once, and it can get very confusing or cluttered as I'm switching back and forth. So what you can do actually here is if you type in Peacock, I'll start with this one with the doc site. You can see here you can change based on recommended favorites, green, darken. You can enter your own color, lighten. So for this example, for this project, let's go peacock green. And so it already looks really nice and appealing, but where it comes, I find in the most handy is, say if I open up another project here, let's say content ops demo. Oh, I already have it as the same green. Okay, let me change it. Peacock green, let's change to favorite color. So red, blue, yellow. I usually like more calmer colors, but go. So when I have a few projects open, like in this instance, it really helps me be able to, as you can see my whole screen here, be able to differentiate like, oh, okay, I know the green is for the doc site. Okay, I know the pink is for content ops. And it really helps me anyways, as someone who's very visual, be able to quickly switch back and forth for different projects that I'm working on.
Does it store that color? Like if you close the project and open the project again, does it open as the same color, or do you have to reset it at that point?
No, it usually does. Let me try here. I'm kind of scared. I'm like, I don't know what my screen's going to show you next when I'm closing this, but let's go doc site example. Yeah.
And then it opens the same color. Okay, okay. Very
So
cool. Yeah, because then you could get used to kind of the preferred color mapping. So if there are 3 or 4 projects that you have open all the time, your brain can immediately be like, "This is the project that I'm in here." Yeah, cool.
exactly, exactly. So that's really fun as well. And my favorite one that I wanted to show you today, Pola coat. Have you heard of this one?
No, also not heard of this one.
Okay, Sean, this might become one of your favorites. Maybe I'm selling it too hard before I show you. This is really great, I found, for documentation, or when you are say writing a blog post or anything like that, and you want to say you're linking your repository in this blog post, or you're going through the docs and whatnot. What it will do is you can simply all you need to do is open the command palette up like I just did and type in, for this case, pull a code, and you can highlight what part of the code. So say this here, wait 1 second here, copy, paste. There we go. Paste it into, give me a sec, let me do this, and literally just directly paste it into it, and it styles it really nicely for you. And then it takes on the theme that you already have. So in this case, just the default theme. And then what you can do is down here, when you click on it, and then you can save it. So it makes this beautiful PNG image that you can use throughout your blogs or your documentation. And it's just really, it makes working really, really efficient, I guess you could say. Because for too long, I was just screenshotting my code and then trying to make it look nice and whatnot. So this is a really easy way to make your code look nice.
This is amazing. So you can, I'm guessing you can control the theming as and some of like the width that you're gonna save it at and everything like that?
Yes, exactly. And it's based on, so for example, it's based on, like if I saved this here, save it.
Oh, is it gonna save it at that width?
It will save it at that width, yeah. So for this code PNG, this is what it would look like. So you can play around with it by expanding it, or say, you're going to be doing a lot of, I don't know what the use case would be for this, but say something that's quite small like this, you can kind of play around with the structure of what you want it to save as for the width.
And so do you know if you can also change the theme? If you have a different theme on your website than you use in your particular VS Code instance?
Yeah, like, are you talking about whatever theme your VS Code is, it will be reflected in here, or?
Yeah, does it automatically do that, or can you have 2 different themes?
Whatever theme your VS Code is set to is what it will be reflected as. Is that what you're asking?
Got it. Yes, yes. I was wondering if you could customize that at all, but you're saying they're mirrored,
They're
basically.
mirrored, yeah. Yeah, it's essentially taking a screenshot, or yeah, essentially taking, I guess, a screenshot of it in a way, but yeah, so those are my top 3. I could keep on going, but I know we're trying to keep these relatively time frame, not too long, so maybe I'll switch over to you?
Cool, cool. Yeah, and what I was gonna say on, let's see, with this particular, this like getting screenshots and all that, this is very cool because I'm the same way where if I want actual code, it's really hard to get the syntax highlighting and to have it look nice without either one building a component to do that for you, which is pretty complex, or two, to take a screenshot of the code. And I have some really powerful and very cool screenshot applications. Like right now, I'm primarily using CleanShot X, which is pretty incredible, but not a great solution um, for code in
Yeah.
particular. So this is super interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I will take over. I made a long list, and so I suppose I'll cherry pick to just do probably also three interesting ones that I really like. Um, and we'll start with, let's see. Well, let me get my screen going here.
While you're doing that, Sean, maybe what we can do is, because I know we both had lists. I know yours was even longer, but what we can do is we can share in the comments or descriptions the others that we didn't get to today.
Yes, absolutely. Or I was thinking we can also do another session in the future as well.
I like that.
Okay. Oh no. Oh no. I have a new browser, and
It's
let's see if it's. Yep. It needs some permission. Okay. Let's see here. Can you give me? I'll be back in 15 seconds. We'll make
take
this
your time.
work.
Your time.
Okay.
And then I know we have, while Sean's doing that, I see that there's some people tuning in. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, leave in the comments, and I will answer away. But if not, Sean's coming back right away here. He started using a new browser. I forget what it's called. I should know this. I think it's Arc, but he's really enjoying it and said it's been really good. So I still need to check it out, but I'm curious to hear if anyone else has used it before. Let me know. Let's see here. Also, too, if you have any VS Code extensions that you love, leave in the comments. All right, Sean's coming back here.
I'm back. Let's see if it works this time.
Sean, it's Arc that you use for your browser now, right?
Yes, just
Yes.
made the switch a couple weeks ago, so I'm guessing this is the first stream where I've actually had to share something, and so I think that's why we're
Perfect.
seeing that. Okay, cool. All right, so yes, let's start with maybe the most well-known one. Everyone's probably like, "Oh yeah, all right, this will be the boring one," but I love it, and I couldn't pass it up, and it's prettier, and I think that prettier is amazing. And if you're already familiar with it, you probably know all about it. It's a formatting tool, and it exists outside the context of VS Code. So it's kind of like one implementation of prettier, and it's all about code formatting. And so what you can do if you've used prettier before is there is a CLI with it. So you can, let's say you have a node project, you can run npm install prettier, and then you can run the prettier command on your command line, and run it against some configuration or not, use their default configuration, and then pass it some files,
Mhm.
basically a glob of files, and it will automatically format those files for you. The VS Code extension is pretty amazing because it's basically that hook, but into VS Code. So if you, for example, in your settings, there is a setting that is format. It's down here. It's editor format on save. So if you don't have autosave enabled, and you've got the right other combination of settings, then
Mhm.
every time you save a file, VS Code will automatically format the file. And VS Code has some built-in formatters, and this is really powerful. So I always turn this on. I don't like autosave for a number of reasons. So I turn that on, um, and then we can use, and what we say here is a formatter must be available. And so prettier in this case is the formatter, and it's not available for all languages, but it is for TypeScript, JavaScript, etc. So I'm in this project here. Let's just find kind of a random file. Here we go. Here's a good file. Okay, so if I'm adding some other string here. Doesn't really matter what it is. And if I here I don't have a semicolon, or I messed up indentation or something like that, when I save, it's going to automatically change the indentation, give me my semicolon, and it's running this all against configuration. And I don't have a prettier configuration in this particular project. So it's going to use its default configuration. Now, a lot of folks are opinionated about the rules that they want to follow in their formatter, or in their code formatting. So you can create a configuration file. And there's a number of different formats, file extensions you can use. I like the .prettier RC. And then this basically is just a JSON file. Notice that what would it be? My icon extension knows that this is a prettier file, which is cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so one might, let's say, um, whoops. Let's see here. Let's say that I'm writing here's some JavaScript code here. And uh, let's say that we see, okay. So one thing that folks are really tend to be opinionated about is whether we use the double quote or the single quote for
Mhm.
strings in prettier, or in JavaScript code. And so we can say, I believe it's single quote, and we can say true. And then maybe another one is, oh, here's one. Actually, this is not unintentionally, but we have another extension making its way here, which is it's GitHub's or Copilot. So
Mhm.
it was automatically filling that in for me. But there's another one, trailing comma, and we could say all. And okay, so now all I did was save that configuration, come back to this index file. All I'm going to do is save it, and automatically it changes these quotes to single quotes. And I don't think we have an instance where we, yep, that it was all quotes. But if there was a case where I didn't have a trailing comma, it would have added that as well. And so I find this to be super powerful and a great way to be consistent across the project. And then, of course, even if if you're not using this extension, or if you mentioned Tiff working on a team, if you're working on a team, then you might have some folks who don't want to install this for whatever reason in their VS Code. Totally fine, because you can still hook in the prettier command line script and run that in your during continuous integration or whatever format, and automatically commit the formatted code back to your project. So tons of options there. Big proponent of prettier.
I
Okay.
love that. Thanks for sharing, Sean. I actually didn't know you could use it outside of VS Code, so that's really interesting.
Yes. I feel like it's really helpful in letting folks have different local configurations, but still enforcing code consistency.
Yes, for sure. Well, that's great. We couldn't do a VS Code extension top list without prettier. It has to be there.
It's got to be there. Got to be there. Okay, I'll do two more. Second one we'll do real quick, and it's kind of a really simple one, but I use it all the time, and it's called advanced new file. Where'd you go? Here it is. Advanced new file. And basically all it is a very quick way to be able to add new files. And you can, I believe, customize the keyboard shortcut. So I don't know if I have customized mine or not, but I have this keyboard shortcut, and when I hit it, it automatically goes into this dialog where I can add a new file. And the first thing I do is I pick the directory that I want to save it to, and it's got this fuzzy search. So I'm all the way here in, let's see, packages, Notion post publisher source. And so I can do something like, okay, maybe it's not, I guess it's not a fuzzy search button, but if I just type Notion, I'll
Mhm.
see all the options here. Notion post publisher, and here's this. So now I'm within the context of this particular directory, and I can say test.ts, and it creates that file here. I don't have to use the file explorer on the left if I don't want to. If I don't want to use my mouse, it's a way that I can stay focused on the keyboard, move super quickly. And I pair that one with another extension just to kind of do a quick 2-for-1, which is the file utils. And this is another great way to be able to not use the file explorer, but do operations on specific files. So let's go back to my example. Where to go? This file. This happens all the time. Basically what it's doing is it's adding a lot of actions that you can take on a file, and you can see them when you open the context menu, but you also have those commands in the command palette. So if I open that command palette, which you can't do out of the box with VS Code, is duplicate a file. And I use this all the time. I'm like, I have a file. I want another file, but I kind of want to start from this place and then change some code. So I can just start typing duplicate, and there it is. And, maybe I'll say, test2, save that. And now I have the same file in the same directory. And notice if I do that again, you have the full path here. So even if you wanted to duplicate it, but you wanted to move it up a directory, you can do that as well. And so just the two different ways to manipulate and work with files without needing to go over to the file explorer where you can easily get lost.
That's awesome. You mentioned it, so obviously it duplicates files. Can it duplicate entire folders? Say there was a component you wanted to duplicate and
yes, but I think you can definitely do that. You would do that from the file explorer over here. So if I did the secondary click, there is then the duplicate option there, which isn't there out of the box with VS Code. And if I click it there, it still opens this this dialog here.
This is great. I didn't last two. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do one more real quick because I felt like this might be one that you didn't know and it's super interesting. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it is Quokka, maybe.
Okay.
It's Quokka, and it's by this company called Wallaby. And it's essentially a JavaScript environment in its own kind of space. So you're running it within VS Code, but you don't have to be in a project. It's not like saving a file or anything like that. And this happens to me all the time. And so I'm writing some JavaScript code, and I'm like, I kind of forget how the slice function works. So I could go to MDM and use their little playground. I could go to something like Replit or JSBin. And often, it takes time to do that. I got to open my browser, got to get there. But if I just want to tinker with something like what is slice doing, or how, I remember kind of how the reduce function works for an array, but I want to kind of see the output as I'm building it. And the function that I'm working with is like deeply nested in all these operations in my code. So I want to pull it out and create this own environment. So again, here I start with the command palette, and then I just start typing Quokka, I think, and can say new file, and it'll let me choose. And it usually for me, I'm either choosing JavaScript or TypeScript. And then it just looks like it opened up a new file, but it actually will also open up this this output window utility. I don't know what we call it on here. And what I can do is now I'm just free to write JavaScript code, and it executes kind of with this debounce method. So
wow.
I can say, 1, 2, 3, and then I can say something like console log. Yeah, there we go. Oh, a 0, if I can type. And then it puts this 1 right in line. So we can, do that. Or I mentioned slice. So slice, what happens if I do that? And then there is the return value there, or that's what would get logged. And it also is happening down here. We've got a little console here as well. So this is this own little like encapsulated JavaScript environment that you can run right in VS Code.
That is super helpful. That is the extension I'm going to, right after this call, going to install. That's incredible. It's so simple, but so helpful. Do you know what I mean? Like just to have it there visually and see.
Exactly, exactly. Yes, love that one, using that all the time for sure.
For sure. I can see why. Quokka? Is that how you
I
pronounce it anyways? We don't know.
Quokka? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Should probably look that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if anyone knows, leave down in the comments. But this has been great, Sean. And as I mentioned, we'll leave others that we had on our list in the description as well. And please feel free to leave questions down below, comments, and we do this every Wednesday. So some kind of live every Wednesday, anyways. Different ones right now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Perfect. I'll see you soon, Sean. Thanks again.
All right. Bye, Tiff.